What 370 mean in a motor? The first digit, number 3, means the code number for armature diameter. The second digit, number 7, means the code number for housing length. The third digit, number 0, means number of armature pole. A reduction gearbox, or speed reducer, is used to decrease the velocity of the input from the motor while also improving the torque the input produces. The transfer case transfers power from the transmission to the front and rear axles by means of drive shafts. The 370 Aftermarket has a weight of 164.7 grams, while the 370 WPL has a weight of 113 grams. A difference of 51.7 grams. If you are concerned with the weight and you're into crawling, 370 WPL may be your option. The heavier the rig, the more stress for the motor. To see which is better in torque, we will compute the gear ratio of each gearbox. Gearbox comparison. The 370 Aftermarket has a length of 21 mm, while 370 WPL has a length of 18.8 mm. Let's compute first the gear ratio of the 370 WPL reduction gearbox. There are 5 gears including the motor pinion. The first, second, and third gear are all the same. Driven gear has 22 teeth and 9.2 mm in diameter. Driver gear has 10 teeth and 4.9 mm in diameter. The fourth gear has 23 number of teeth and 10 mm in diameter. To get the gear ratio, the formula is gear ratio is equal to driven gear number of teeth divide driver gear number of teeth. So you have to identify which is the driven and the driver gear. The gear ratio of WPL 370 single speed is 20.03%. It means 1 rotation of the output gear is equivalent to 20 rotation of the motor pinion gear or input gear. Now let's compute the gear ratio of 370 Aftermarket single speed gearbox. There are 6 gears including motor pinion. In the first gear, the driven gear has 22 number of teeth and 9.2 mm in diameter, and the driver gear has 12 teeth and 5.6 mm in diameter. In the second gear, the driven gear has 20 number of teeth and 8.4 mm in diameter, and the driver gear has 10 teeth and 4.6 mm in diameter. Third and fourth gear are the same. The driven gear has 22 number of teeth and 9.2 mm in diameter, and the driver gear has 10 teeth and 4.6 mm in diameter. The fifth gear has 23 number of teeth and 10 mm in diameter. The gear ratio for 370 Aftermarket single speed gearbox is 34%. 1 rotation of the output gear is equivalent to 34 rotation of the motor pinion gear or the input gear. So the Aftermarket 370 single-speed motor gearbox is more stronger than WPL. Let's compute the revolution per minute of both gearbox. I use 7.4 volts lithium-ion battery to run the gearbox. I am not saying that the tachometer is precise. I just show you the comparison with the same voltage supply and distance. WPL motor gearbox has around 470 to 480 RPM. Now it's 370 Aftermarket single speed gearbox turn. It has around 280 to 290 RPM. The more gears in the gearbox and the higher gear ratio is, the higher the torque. And the lower the revolution per minute, the higher the torque. You can use it to a 190 to 240 mm wheelbase. You can use short and long drive shaft. Has a high torque and instant drag brake. What I list in the cons are for stock only, but actually all in the list are manageable that needs modification. In 190 mm wheelbase, motor will hit the links, unless you are going to do something with the links or rather use a leaf spring. You can't use short drive shaft, unless you will move the gearbox, drill the chassis and replace longer shaft the gear in the transfer case. If you feel lack of torque, you can replace with that black high torque motor together with the gearbox or the reduction gear alone. For me, Both of them are good, depending on what setup you like. If you like all metal, if you don't like hassle and you are not a handy person, choose the 370 Aftermarket gearbox. But, if you like a clean build, a high ground clearance and you can manage any modification, use this WPL single-speed gearbox. If you are asking why not include the WPL 2-speed gearbox, well, this is what I can say. WPL 2-speed gearbox is far away from these two single-speed. Again, this is my personal perspective. I am a person that don't like heavy rigs. What I like in 2-speed gearbox are the lightweight, the sound of the plastic gears and enough torque. By the way, the gear ratio of the low gear in the 2-speed gearbox is 30% and the high gear is 11%. This 2-speed gearbox is also best combo for WPL Res V3.